Well, all praises to the Most High. Welcome, welcome, welcome to each and every one of you. I'm sure some people will be coming in, but maybe not coming in straight away because our people have a habit, a bad one, that we're not usually on time. But there are certain people who do try to be on time because, time is money and time is also opportunity. If you land in the right place at the wrong time, you never get to take advantage of it. Oh, my, my, my. And if you get in the wrong place at the wrong time, you're in trouble. So I'm glad to be here tonight with you. My name's Dr. Trevor Dennis, and I am your host. This is the ministry of Hebrew interviews. In Hebrew interviews, we have discussions, we have debates, we have solo monologues. We have all kinds of things where we open up issues and deal with them. And tonight is no different. We have a guest with us, an old friend. Yes, well, she doesn't look very old, but I'm getting on a little bit more. And I say old friend because I've known her quite a while. Say 2000 and something early. And it's now 2008. So it's over 10 years for sure. More like in the teens of years. So our guest tonight is going to come and talk to us about herself and about how you can get out of debt and about what is happening in her life that maybe you can pattern a couple of things on. But before we go there, let me let you know that on a Hebrew interviews, if you would like to support us, make sure you first and foremost do that thing where you like, subscribe, share, click the bell, that notification bell on Hebrew interviews. Right now, we are transmitting on our normal frequency, which is the Hebrew Apostolic channel. But I want you to know that Hebrew interviews is the channel where we have all of our interviews being uploaded to. So you want to be on that channel because if you like debates and discussions and all that stuff, that's where it's going to be. Let me just say something else. If you want to communicate with us, you want to ask some questions tonight, make sure you are prepared and you write those questions down and our moderators will pick them up and we will deal with them at the end. If you want to support us financially, you have a number of different ways. If you're in the UK or Europe, go to our website, www.pillar.org.uk. If you happen to be in the United States of America, remember that you can go to Cash App and do the sign, which is they'll show you it's a sterling pound sign, not a dollar sign, a sterling pound sign followed by Hebrew interviews. Hebrew interviews. You can also do PayPal, DRU Dennis, down the bottom. Just look at that thread as it goes through and you see that ribbon flowing. Make sure you take notice of that information. Oh dear, I'm trying to make sure that I introduce to you. If you're out there, why don't you say hello? Hello, Sister Judy. Hello, Sister Yahweh. And there are others. I know you're there. Why don't you say hello? Say hello to me so that I can say hello to you. Hallelujah. We sure do appreciate you coming along. I can see the numbers there, and the numbers there don't match the names down here. And also, I know there are others who always watch and never actually say hello. So I'm encouraging you. Say hello. Anybody out there? Hello? When I say hello, you say hi. Hello? That's right. Okay. So we're going to bring our guests on and have our guests interview themselves to you. So I want to say to you, welcome to another episode of Hebrew Interviews. My name's Dr. Trevor Dennis, and I am your host. But today, I'm with someone that I'd like to introduce herself. So, Sister Hazel, would you introduce yourself to the world? Hallelujah. People are going to see it now and others are going to pick it up later. Introduce yourself and tell them whatever you'd like to tell them about who you are.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Trevor Dennis. Thank you for the opportunity that you've given me just to share things that I've sort of learned up to this stage in life, and hopefully they will help somebody out there. I'm a mum of two young boys, 7 and 4, and I'm married. Um, and I love the Lord, and really I'm somebody who just loves to help people. That's sort of my nature. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this evening and just to this talk, and hello to all the viewers.
How long you been married?
10 years.
10 years. See, all that happened when I came out of your life. I'm glad you're married, and I'm glad that you're happily married. Hallelujah.
Yes.
All right.
Hallelujah.
So I met you in the days when you were working in the council. Tell me a little bit about what's happened since.
Right. So when I worked in the council, I was a student on a placement at the time. So graduated, then started working. So I worked as
Graduated. So you got what did you
a
get when you
master.
graduated? A what?
Yeah, that was in I think it was
Your
in 2000.
master's.
My
Wow.
master's.
In
Yep, in public administration.
Okay. And then what happened next?
So graduated, went to work for NHS professionals as a client manager for one of their trusts, looking after their clients, and then got married after that, moved to another town where I joined a similar company to that one. So I joined Manpower, worked in recruitment. So total, I worked in recruitment 5 years. Left recruitment to have a baby. So my son was 7 now. And then after that, I decided that going back into recruitment wasn't going to help us financially. So I had to look for something else. So took a deep dive, went into financial services. So from recruitment to financial services, worked with Lloyd's for 2 years on a project that we're doing. Left that to have a second baby. My son was now 4. When I had my son was now 4, I wanted the work-life balance. I had 2 young kids. Also with finances, we decided, we had a chat with my husband, decided I would go full-time, start a business. So we started a property business. It had been cooking before I went on to maternity leave the second time. So whilst I had another job, I started just doing a little bit of that. And when I had my second baby, I didn't go back to work then. We just started working on it full time. So that's been sort of close to 5 years now. Because my
So you've
son
been
is
running a
4,
property business for
running a
5
property
years,
business
and before
full
that, you were
time.
in financial services.
Yes.
Okay, so I know that you must have been in debt at some point with 2 babies and a husband and coming out of the workplace. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So
Because you experience being in debt, which is why you're passionate about bringing people out of debt.
yeah. So there's different types of debt that I would like people to know about. So there's the usual credit cards, pay now, or buy now, pay later. So taking finance on furniture, little projects that you think you're doing. I'll get it now, pay later. Mortgage,
Mhm,
having a young family with a mortgage. A mortgage is one of the biggest debts that a family will have. Car
mhm,
loans,
mhm,
getting that on finance as well. So increased with obviously having a young family. Children are expensive. Childcare is expensive. All those are pressures, as a young family that most families have. And then other people, for example, have store cards as well to add to that. But personally, I think our biggest would be something like a mortgage, where people don't actually think, they obviously look at a mortgage as an asset, but that money, obviously, the mortgage is the loan, and things like car finance as well that people take, that is a loan as well, and you'd be amazed at how much money you lose paying the interest on that.
It's always amazed me that some people living in a pokey wokey flat, and they got thousands and thousands of pounds of car that they're driving, and they don't own their home. And then there's the other ones that have a house that they live in, but think that just having a house is an asset when it's taking money out of their pocket every single day. So what kind of
Absolutely.
debt did you experience? Is it what you've outlined, or is it something else?
And what I've outlined.
Yeah. So you experience the normal kind of debt, and then what happened?
So one thing, creating multiple income streams. So as I said,
How
starting
did
a
that
business.
start? How did that start? What was it, an idea? Was it something you read in a book? Was it somebody that came to you and spoke to you? What happened?
The idea came out of several a joint of things. Reading a book. Most people would have read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And sort of me and my husband discussing about what goals we wanted in life, thinking about retirement, what we wanted in retirement, and thinking of our children in terms of what sort of life do we want our children to have, what sort of schools do we want our children to have. So the idea of property is we looked at it and saw that it was a tool or a vehicle that we could actually leverage on.
You know how many people actually never sit down and plan, especially financial planning. So they get married, they have kids unplanned usually, or sometimes they plan the kids, but they don't actually plan moving up in their careers. And if they do, they're thinking about getting a job. Was it first the idea of a job or the idea of a business? How did that happen? How did that come about?
So the idea of it was a job first, but with the job, as I said earlier, when I had my first child, going back, I had to sit down and think, how much money would I be bringing from a job, and how much money is required for childcare, for example.
That's
And
that
then
planning side. Go ahead, please finish.
Yeah. So property, it was sort of an idea that if we had additional income streams to support what we had, and also if we had something that we're starting to work on now that is long term, for a long term financial goal, which obviously you can find in property. So that's how the sort of business came about. It was really thinking, trying to balance the life with the family, young kids, and have time around them. That a normal day job, a normal 9 to 5 job wouldn't sort of help. And also looking at, you've got a mortgage that you have that you would like one day to be able to clear. You've got car loans that you would like one day to be, to outrightly own that. You've got credits that you have that you would like to, and that cannot happen with a 9 to 5 job, unfortunately, when you look at the numbers. So that's where that idea came, that we definitely need an additional income stream. A 9 to 5 job is just not sufficient to be able to have all these other needs and wants catered for.
Absolutely. I remember having a mentor who taught me that you should always have more than one iron in the fire. So that's really the idea of diversification. However,
Mhm.
tell us what your planning, the process of your planning look like, because many people don't plan their finances, but tell us what that look like.
Okay, so the the thing to do obviously is to start with because everything starts with a change of mindset. As long as you feel comfortable, nothing is going to change. But when you're in a position where it's uncomfortable to be in, you have to change your mindset. So like I was saying about the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then reading just self-development, it allowed us to sort of me to change my mind as to my way of thinking, as to trying to think, oh, 9 to 5 is not going to work. And then once the mindset is changed, I think it was a case of budgeting, just simple budgeting principles. Can I afford this? Do I really have to have this now? Um, so it's important to have that personal budget where you can see what your personal circumstances are, and where all the money is going. When
Mm-hmm.
you do, for example, a budget, if you've got spare income, you can actually use that to work towards reaching other goals. For example, you can then start thinking of, let's say, investing. You could invest in property, say, in stocks and shares. You could start small things that you're passionate about, that could generate other small passive income streams.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the thing. But budgeting, I think, would be a tool that everybody who's planning, because you need to know where you are now to be able to start walking the step towards where you want to go, which is obviously to become debt free and financially independent.
I think that should be everyone's goal, to become debt free and then financially independent. But you don't really have to give up your day job in order to do that. You could just simply, for instance, perhaps do something on the side that will complement what you do during your day job to bring in the extra cash that you need to get rid of your debt, for instance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's some things you can actually do, an extra, say, 2 3 hours. One thing that people don't think about is the compounding effect. So just putting aside just 2 hours a week, it could be, for example, Amazon selling. It could be, for example, just saying every Saturday, 9 to 10 to 12, I could be working on my online business. Just doing that every single Saturday for a year, you would have built a business and you would have started generating cash. By the time you get to year one, year two, year three, you'll be so far ahead. But the thing is, when you get to, if you decide, for example, not to use that money and let's say put it for in an investment or something else, it can actually compound to the extent that one day you can actually leave that for that 9 to 5 job. So something that you can have also is freedom of time, because when you're not working for somebody else, there's lots of other opportunities that can come to you that
Mhm.
you have time for. Whereas if you're in a 9 to 5, the probability is when you finish your 9 to 5 job, you're too exhausted to even start something. But if you start with that one small thing that you can do even just 2 hours a week, there is that compounding effect
Mhm.
that can help you in the long run.
Okay, you mentioned passive income. A lot of people may not be familiar with what that is. So, do you want to explain that and maybe how you apply that?
So, passive income, people use it to describe something that generates you income where you don't need, that's not on. So, you put a little bit of work to get it started, but after that, what it does, it generates income for
Mhm.
you. I'll give an example. Let's say you bought a buy-to-let property, so a property to put tenants in. So you
Mhm.
work hard to get the money, you buy the property. After that, you can get an agent, for example, to manage it for you. So they get the tenants, and then you get sort of, so you don't even need to leave your job. So you get money coming in every month. So that's what passive, that you don't necessarily have to be hands-on.
So you do some kind of work and set the thing up, and then after that, it continues to generate income for you from then on. And maybe it
Yes,
might require some maintenance, but it won't require the same amount of time. Would that be
yes,
about it?
absolutely. That's it. That's it.
Okay. Um, you were also talking earlier on about investing, and that kind of knocked something in my brain that said, you can actually make sure that everything is an investment. So we know that you have debt, you have things you buy, etc., etc. But in my mind, all of those can be an investment, in the sense that if you go and buy yourself shoes or clothes, you buy the best that you can afford so that it will last you and it will have some value to you, rather
Mhm.
than buy some kind of rain by night clothing that you wear it once and it tears off you, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean. Or
yeah,
shoes that
yeah,
you wear them a couple of times and you got to put them in the bin.
yeah,
So I believe you ought to invest in yourself, whether
yeah.
that's clothes or education or something else. When you buy something, when you give something, it should be an investment. When you
Mhm.
when you sell something on, it's an investment. Or when you take something from someone else, if it's not going to be an investment, you don't take it. So that's my view. What do you see as investing?
For the purposes of this conversation, looking at financial freedom, investing is where you make your money work harder for you. So where you, for example, build something up that generates money to be able to generate more money for you. So for the purpose of this conversation, that's what it means. So if you put £10 here, it should, by the time you take it away, it should have either doubled or tripled or just be more than the £10. So that's what I mean in terms of investment. So instead of you having your money sit in the bank, for example, where it's just sitting there, you're not earning any interest or anything, you could actually put it somewhere else where it's doubling or tripling, just depending on whatever investment it is and what the outcome is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it should actually make you money. So in terms of personal development, for example, it's an investment in that um, it's got a similar outcome, that the person that you are now is not the person that you were before, in that makes you walk towards being the person that God has created you to be, which
Mm-hmm.
obviously compounds in helping others and changing lives, for example. That's obviously more worth than money.
Yeah,
Um,
that's giving as an investment. Yes.
yes, that's giving as an investment. Which again, coming back to the money aspect, when you've got money, if somebody comes to you and they say, "Oh, I've had this trouble," you know, you're not going to say, "Oh, I'll pray for you." You're going to be okay. How much money is it? Here it is. You've changed their life. Um, so it becomes more practical. Also, even in the things that you desire to do to make change, a lot of things just need money, for example. And when you're walking in that way, where you are debt free, you've got more money to yourself, which you can invest and actually have more things to get involved in terms of helping people.
Well, I know that you've invested in people in your home country of Zimbabwe. So um, maybe you want to just say a word to people about how they can invest in people on the continent to help them change their lives.
Yeah. So I think you know this, that I lost my parents when I was quite young. Um, and because of that, growing up, I was helped by so many people that came along my way that I never expected. I was 19 when I lost my mum. So obviously not working, still in university. And then I had a younger brother, so I was still in school. So throughout my until I came to the UK, throughout that time, I used to get help from so many people. And I was a child head, meaning that I had a family, I had bills to pay, but I was still 19. I was actually quite young myself. So I became passionate about helping other younger people and just helping people in general, especially people who had helped me to become who I am now. So at home, I have invested in getting people to school, paying fees for people for family members when they are ill, they need hospital fees. Um, so yeah, paying for education, medical bills, just taking care of family, really, supporting when
Mhm.
people have funerals, and sometimes just supporting with basics like buying food.
Mhm. Well, one of the most difficult things for people in Western society who want to support people on the continent is just knowing how to go about it because, of course, there's so many scammers. So, what are some of the practical steps that we could take in order to help people on the continent and know that we are genuinely getting involved with genuine causes?
Mhm. So, one thing I did personally was to raise funds for a relative that wanted to go to university. What I did is I just paid straight to the school, so without having a middleman. So you could do payments direct to a hospital, for example, direct to the school, for example, if it were in terms of education. Um, if it were in terms of a health, same, you could ring up and ask and double check. I've had times where we speak to doctors as well, just to double check, oh, is it costing this much? So you just have that peace of mind. I've been scammed as well by family. And what I do now is I do lots of due diligence, but not because um, I'm really interested in the money, but so that it doesn't go to waste. It actually helps the people. So yeah, I would say yeah, do due diligence, pay straight to the authorizing, and if there's facilities, I know in Zimbabwe there's facilities, for example, to pay bills direct to let's say the council water facilities. So you can set up those from here.
Okay, so I'm presuming you're using some kind of mechanism to send the money onto the continent. What mechanisms do you use?
Western Union, I think it's everywhere in the world. Western Union is a very good example of a way to send money. In terms of sending to schools, and usually when you ask a school, they'll let you know what the best payment method is for them. It could be direct into a bank account, and they'll give you a reference number to use.
All right, so
So yeah,
that's
so
how
you
we
could do
can
that
help
with
our people on the
yeah.
continent to get out of debt by investing in them. But coming back to before you came out of debt, you already had what I would consider quite a focused mindset. So when you experienced debt, you took some steps to actually bring yourself out of debt. And then you started into your plan, you and your husband. So tell us how, tell the people out there how they can come out of debt. Tell them what kind of steps or education or facilities, plan, whatever. Tell them what is on your heart about how they can come out of debt, please.
So
And take your time. Yeah.
yeah. So practical steps would be to acknowledge that, for example, debt is not only when you're becoming bankrupt. Um, Debt is anything that does not belong to you, that you don't own. So credit cards, store cards, mortgages, car loans. Um, so just to
Holidays. What about the holidays that we love to go
yes,
on twice a
yes,
year?
yes, you don't have to, but you can work towards those holidays, and you can work towards creating an income stream. So when I say debt, like I said earlier, it's you have to look at all those things where perhaps you owe something that you pay interest for. So that's the sort of debt I'm talking to. So I want people to be able to relate to it, to say, oh, because when people hear debt, they're quick to think, oh, I'm not going to talk about it because of this and that. But things like car loans and mortgages are debt as well. And I should say we're working towards it, Dr. Trev. But it's obviously to encourage people that you can actually work towards eliminating these huge debts. We're all working, personally working towards finishing like mortgages and car loans. So as I say, the first thing to change your mindset, the Bible is a good place to go to in terms of
Oh no, man, but to love him. That was a scripture that stuck in my head. Yeah.
yeah, so that's a good, and just trying to understand what God says about money, about finances, because the renewal has to start in the mind first. So the Bible is a practical example. Look for biblical principles of money, what God says about money. Pray about that for God to show you the areas that you need to sort of deal with. And then other practical things is self-development around finances. There's so much free information in this day to age, especially on YouTube, a lot of blogs. That talk about finances, about money, and you can be choosy as well to listen to any Hebrew teachings, especially because Hebrews teachers like rabbis, they've got a really in-depth understanding of biblical principles of money. Once the mindset is, it's easier to start on the practicals, budgeting. So loads of budgeting tools again, spreadsheets everywhere. If you're in the UK, Money Saving Expert, they've got loads of other tips on there that you could practically use on a day-to-day basis. When you know where you are with your budgeting, if you've got spare money, you can start using that to maybe invest. And like I said, investments, it's a lot of things. It could be personal development. It could be stocks and shares. It could be government bonds, or you could speak to your bank to see if they've got cash ISAs, for example. I would say, I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, obviously, but speak to your banks, to somebody who's qualified. It's information that is free. Also, if you're in the UK, even the Citizen Advice Bureau, they obviously support people in terms of just nudging you into areas where you get more information. YouTube, going back to YouTube, there's channels of how to create online income streams without putting a lot of money. Things like, would you like me to give examples?
Please go ahead.
Things like, for example, if you're passionate about writing or blogging, you could start your own blog on things that you're passionate about that you do on a daily basis. So you don't have to think of content. It's things that you do on a daily basis. You could research on being an affiliate, for example, when you start blogging, what's called affiliate marketing. So companies like, let's say you've got a one-pager, a landing page that you create, which you can go on Fiverr. You might have to pay maybe 20. Yeah, somebody can create that. You can be an affiliate, let's say for Amazon, on a product that you choose. Once somebody buys on Amazon from your page, you get money paid into your account, but it's more like a referral thing. So you know how we do refer a friend and earn £10, refer a friend. So you could do all those things. You could do Amazon selling, for example. There are loads of Facebook groups on how to get started. In fact, when the country went into lockdown last year, a lot of people that went on furlough joined Amazon face groups to start Amazon selling. So that's something, you don't need a lot of money. I know an example of a guy that said he didn't have money to start up on Amazon selling, but what he just basically did is he started off by selling things that he didn't want in his home on eBay to get
Yeah.
top cash. And
We
once
have a
he had
lot
a
of
little
stuff
bit
in
of
our
money,
garages and
yes,
cellars that really we should get rid of and other
yeah,
people put to use.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 absolutely. Once you get that little income, you can collaborate with other people. That's one thing that people never think of, that you can actually collaborate with other people to get more money. But the good thing about Amazon is you don't have to keep stock in your house. You
No.
buy stuff, you send it to Amazon. Amazon do all the work. So there's so many, plenty of ideas on YouTube and on Facebook, on Amazon selling. Other things you could do. This is something I discovered on Fiverr, because having my own running our own property business, we do use some of the services on there. People doing like digital marketing. One thing I noticed is people are selling their services there. So people could be accountants, for example, and you've got your 9 to 5 job, but maybe on the weekend you could be doing accounts for people on there. And all you need maybe is 2, 3, 4 hours to do that. So whatever skill you have, because God created everybody with a skill. There's something that you're passionate about. There's something that you're skilled in, that you've learned, that you've got so much information.
Mhm.
So being an entrepreneur, for example, or selling those services is a way for you to actually help those people.
Mhm.
Um, obviously earning money. Another way on Amazon, for example, is to write ebooks. Um, that those can sell as well. There's lots of content on YouTube on how to get that started. I'm just thinking what else. Cashback
Brilliant.
and rewards.
Yeah. You've
Sign up
thrown
to
out a lot of ideas. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's because I've tried and tested all these things, a lot of these things. Um, Top cashback and Quidco. I'll give you an example of Quidco. In our property business, we buy loads of things, loads of furniture. We buy um, uh, quite we buy beds, wardrobes, those sort of things. We signed up to Quidco, so every time we buy online, we go on to Quidco, we use it, and what they do is they give you cashback every time we sign on to, like, bills, for example. We sign on to that, you get £50. At the end of the year, you can see that there's £200 already in there, because
That
we are
adds up.
buying online. That's a fact. Why not earn money whilst you buy? Even if it's £200, when you get that £200, don't use it. Put it somewhere. Buy some stocks. By the time you get to next year, that 200 has already maybe doubled or tripled. Who knows? Depending on what sort of stock you've bought. So that money again is working harder for you. And then things like I was talking about bills, reviewing your bills every year, looking at cost savings, changing deals, for example. A friend of mine introduced me to an app called Snoop.
Mhm.
This is in the UK. If you sign up to it, whenever a deal is ending, like for example, when my mobile phone's deal was ending, it actually alerted me that it's now coming to an end. These are a few choices looking at your budget, which you could actually go for. So it's like at your fingertips. Whereas before you would have to crack, or actually it would just automatically get renewed and you would never think about it. But these tools are at our fingertips that we can actually use every sort of single day. So that's a good app I would recommend in terms of bills, and you do save every year.
Yeah. I mean, I was with a large uh, energy company, and they were ripping me off. I mean, they were ripping me off. And then I went to look after my bills. I'm not
Mhm.
advertising for them, but what happened was the bills dropped dramatically. And so
Yeah,
there are lots of things out there that you need to think about. Whoever you're with, when the term is coming up, it's time to switch. It's time
yeah,
to look for
yeah.
a deal. I was with another company with my mobile phone, and
Mhm.
they were ripping me off too. So I
Yeah,
decided to go look for a better deal, and I got a lifetime deal. I'm
Yeah.
paying 18.75 for all in. Stream as much as you want, text as much as you want, phone as much as you want,
Yeah.
etc., etc. So the
Yeah.
deals are there if you're willing to do the work. But what
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
outlined was the basic principle, which is this: that you either need to get, when you find out where you're at, you need to
Yeah.
get more money by
Yeah.
either getting a different job or getting a side hustle that will
Yeah.
help you to get more money, or else you need to spend less.
Yeah.
Now, it always amazes me that people don't think that you can spend less when you can. You can buy quality food and just not eat as much food.
Yeah.
Because the worse the quality of food you eat, the more hungry you actually are.
Yeah.
And in terms of your bills, if you don't review them and stay loyal to a company that is not loyal to you, you're going to
Yeah.
end up in trouble. They're going to rip you off. So you should always be looking for a better deal. And to be very honest, my American audience are better at that than us as English people. We are
Yeah.
so, in Britain, so loyal, so
Yeah.
loyal. And the companies are not loyal.
No.
They don't give
No.
us good service. So we need to force them, because black money makes the world go round. We're the only
Yeah.
people that spend with everybody. We spend
Yeah.
with everybody, but everybody spends with their own. And so we need to consider and think about it and build up our communities by investing in one another.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Hallelujah.
whew,
In terms of investing in one another, I think
mhm.
what most people do as well is when they get information and things change, they just never share. You know,
Oh
I'm one
my.
of those people who love to give. If I hear of a tool or anything that I think somebody might help, I'm on the phone. Have you seen this? I've got actually several groups that I just post, guys. Have you seen this? Um, you know, so it's good because when you're generous, God is also generous. He's generous are are generous. So that's something that we all need to be doing. When you've
Excellent.
saved, yeah, when you've been helped, go and help. When you've saved something, go and share the information. When you've learned a great deal in your job, most people are in careers. Don't use that information just for you and leave it at work. Those are skills that you have. Somebody's dying to, you know, to learn those skills. Somebody's dying to have that information delivered to them, and you can actually monetize that as well, that you can use those skills
Mhm.
to help other people and to earn um, whilst you go.
Okay. Well, our people have a tendency to like to go and get a job, but in other communities, they have a different concept. Go start a business. And more of us are beginning to understand that it's better to have your own business and mind your own business than mind somebody else's. So, um, mind your own business. Tell us just a skeleton form of how someone can go about starting a business on a shoestring.
Yeah. So I'm a big advocate of education. So definitely mindset. Get around right people that motivate you. Um, you look for books, go into, if you know the particular industry or niche that you would like to start a business, start to look around on YouTube, Facebook. People in those industries will be talking about the books that they are reading. Start to listen to podcasts, um, to any content really around starting a business. I've got obviously personal recommendations of things that I've listened to help me get started. And then obviously go into creating a personal budget. Um, Once you've done that, so again, the budgeting and everything,
Mhm.
have your do your business plan, look at what area, what needs, because starting a business is you're trying to um, to solve a problem. So in the industry, what problem are you trying to solve? Do your market research to see
Mhm.
once you're certain. Do not an extensive business plan, but just pointers of what you want to do. So, for example, set your goals. This is the business that I want to do. I want to be able to make X amount of money by this time. This is what I need. Look at the market, look at your pricing structure. There's lots of content, as I said, on YouTube of like 7 days to start a business, how to register it, where to go to register if you're in the UK. So depending on what the business is, how to protect yourself in your business. So trademarks, patents, how to register emails. There's obviously lots of contacts, and then also a lot of advice around, depending again on your industries. It depends on how much startup money that you should have. But when you do your business plan, that will be one of the questions you answer. Where are you going to get the money to start a business? So that gets you thinking, do I need to save, for example? Do I need maybe to work with partners? You could use the power of leverage. And what it means is maybe you don't have money, but you know somebody who has money but has no time. So I did that as well in my my early days of getting onto property. It's property that I actually don't own, that we have a business in. So we knew people that wanted property to be managed. They didn't have the time. I had the time, but limited funds at the at the beginning. So you can use that leverage.
So let me see if I get this right. You're either time rich or money rich. Some people who have money, but they don't have time. Others have time and they don't have money, but you can exchange for the two. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay,
You
you can
can
make
leverage
a
or you
deal
can
with the two.
collaborate.
Yes,
Sorry?
collaboration. That's fine. So a lot of people think that when you talk about a business plan, that you're talking about this complicated thing. But there's a thing out there called a one-page business plan. And obviously, it
Yes.
doesn't have to be complex. It just
Nope.
has to lay out your objectives and actually plan how you're going to go about doing
Yeah.
business. And other
Yeah.
people think that you have to have a lot of money, but as you said, you can have time and exchange it with somebody who has money by collaboration, or else you can start anything on a
Yeah.
shoestring. It just
Yes.
means that where you're starting from is further away and less grand than some people would like it to be. So, in other words, I knew a guy who was in South Africa, and what he did was that he would take people who were out on the street, give them a cooler filled up with drinks, and say,
Mhm.
go out and sell these for this price. And when they sold them and came back, he would give them the profit, restock it up again, and let them go again. And so, and he was teaching them how to run a business.
Yeah.
That's what his process was. So these people learned how to make money, and many of them went on to have bigger businesses. But
Yeah.
that's starting on a shoestring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You in actual fact, in talking about the Bible and what the Bible says about how to make money and how to come out of debt, you inadvertently pointed to what we call the seed principle. Like whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap, or what you give, you will
Yeah.
receive. And in
Yeah.
accordance to how much you give, you will receive. So if you give little bit, you're going to get back little
A
bit.
little
If
bit.
you give a much, you're going to get a
Yeah.
much. And
Yeah.
so we encourage people to learn that principle at home. So whether home means in your local assembly or home means in your local workplace,
Yeah.
the process of service or
Yeah.
serving people is very important.
It
So
is.
you know, Bill Gates, he found a principle in the Bible, and the principle was that if you find a way to serve the maximum amount of people, those
Mhm.
people will help you in life.
Yeah.
And so he
Yes.
became a billionaire out of that because he
Yeah.
found a way to get something people needed, a desktop, on every desktop in the
Yeah.
world, so to speak. And as a
Yeah.
result, he became a
Mhm.
billionaire. So
Yeah.
I'll just put it to you and to others out there that perhaps you haven't yet found a way to serve the maximum amount of people. with what Sister Hazel called your gift, because everybody, she says, has one. Everyone has at least one. Some of us have more than one, and therefore, to whom much is given, much is required. So, what are you going to do about your gift? Are you going to let it rust? Are you going to let it sit? By the way, Sister Hazel, would you just address the issue? Because some people, this issue here coming up, some people think that if they don't start a business, they're a failure. But the truth is, not everyone can start a business, because not everyone has that skill set or ability or desire even.
Yeah.
Please, just talk about how do they go about getting a job.
Okay.
Since you come out of recruitment.
So like you said, it's not for everybody. There is people actually who are happy in their jobs, in what they do. But as I said, along the years, they've amassed so many skills, they've so much knowledge that they have. It just goes to a waste if that's just for that company that they're employed by. But yet, for example, I know people like, say, for example, they work in big financial industries, but their own families have no financial knowledge at all. Their extended families, they could actually do small sessions to teach people about, let's say, for example, finances. So it's a lot of things that we could help in our community if we are not necessarily business-minded people. Sometimes it could be just collaborating as well, just going to do talks or small things just for on a voluntary basis, if you like, where you give back to the community. Because God has given us this platform, He's given us this life to be able to live it not only for us, but for Him first, and then for other people. As He said, I know in the New Testament, it's love God with all your heart, love other people, but you can't love other people just by telling them that you love them. It has to come with an act.
But some people are finding it difficult actually getting a job. Some can't even get a job, and some would like a better job, but they're scared and they don't know what to do. But as someone who's coming out of dealing with recruitment, I'm sure you have some tips about how someone can go about finding a job or changing jobs.
Yeah. So in terms of finding jobs, for example, the Job Center Plus is a good place to start because they help people to do CVs. I know online you can get your CVs done online, for example, but you have to pay. They start by the job center. Also this year, currently as I'm speaking to you, the government from March has launched loads of incentives for people to get skills. So that I can share as well, because I've been on that website myself looking for skills to better our business. So there's lots of courses now for free. So from accounting courses, business courses in construction. I mean, all the industries, there's courses that the government is offering for free. It's called
Well, if you give me that afterwards, and I'll post it in the down below afterwards. So I'll post it inside. So give me that website afterwards. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking about how to get a job and change jobs.
Yeah. So once you've got those skills, obviously you're at a better place to look for a job. Also, the government is offering companies to do apprenticeships. So for young people, I know a friend who's doing work with young people to get them skills and get training for them to obviously get into work. What else can people do? Go to places like Indeed, Gumtree, Total Jobs. All those are job sites. They've got job sites where you can actually go to look for work. Apprenticeships as well. As I said, the government offering incentives. So this one now for businesses, the government is paying both the business and the apprentice. So right now, there is loads of opportunities such that there is no excuse for anybody not to be working. Also, I know for some people it could be a mindset thing. Maybe they've been through traumatic experiences, and they need that. Maybe they're in depression, or so they can't really function. And I would say I think places like the Citizen Advice Bureau can support in terms of telling them where to go and to get help and things, because sometimes people need to deal with themselves mentally before they become ready to take work. So depending on what that is. And I know also on Facebook and YouTube, there's lots of self-help information as well out there for people just to get themselves into the right mindset to be able to look for jobs. Other recruitment agents, I don't know what the current situation is with COVID, but definitely if you just use Google is a good tool. Jobs, search for jobs in my area, loads of names of recruitment agents for that particular job that you want. And then in terms of career, just going back to our conversation about setting goals. Once you've done your budgets, you can actually see where you can start thinking around what sort of job do I need to be able to make X amount of money. So there is I can't remember the name of the site where it gives you a list of jobs and how much, like in any industry, and how much. I think it's Glassdoor, where you can see what sort of jobs can earn you the amount of money that you want. So when you've set your goals, for example, and you know that I need to raise, let's say, 50,000 in the next 3 years to buy a mortgage, it means I need to be earning X amount of money. You can actually go online and see what sort of jobs, for example, you can be hunting for, and also what skills that job requires. So that way you can start working on upskilling yourself, and you know exactly what courses. So you're not randomly just looking for courses that may not lend you to where you are. But I think a lot of things come down to planning, sitting down and actually having that conversation with yourself and thinking, I'm here, how do I go from point A to B?
I think so. I think a lot of people stay too long in one job. They're in there for 5, 10 years, and then at the end of the 5, 10 years, they get made redundant, and unfortunately, they're not able to find another job when they could have been planning, because it's easier. And this is a principle. It's easier to find a new job when you have your old one rather than when you've been kicked out of your old job and you're looking for a new job. It's just some kind of a psychological thing that it's easier to get a new job when you got a job. And so I think that people need to sit down and do what you're saying, which is plan, and don't stay too long. Maybe 9 months, a year, and you need to be thinking of the next one, where you're going.
Yeah. I would say also, I know when I worked in recruitment, certainly when we looked at people's CVs, if there was a gap in employment, it was sort of a deterrent. People would be asking questions, but obviously, when you're looking at the CVs, if somebody had continuous recruitment, they're likely to look at that first, invite that person to the interview. Whereas if you have those gaps in employment, so yes, don't leave it for too long. Sometimes also you can actually just go and volunteer during that sort of period. So you've got something to put on your CV that you continue to work and you're working for so and so. And also some things that people don't think about is if you work for a company, even just two days a week, most recruiters never ask how long all they see is you worked there. These are the sort of skills. These were your responsibilities. These are the skills that you got whilst working there. They never look at whether it was full time or part time. So sometimes you can just take on part-time just so you don't have any employment gaps in between.
Or do charity work in terms of
Yeah,
trusteeships as well that give you
yeah,
the skills. So if you happen to see that there's a skill gap in your thing, ask yourself, what kind of charity can I be volunteering for to fill that gap? So if you were, say, you needed financial skills, you decided to work as a treasurer in a charity. That means you're going to have those skills or develop those skills. And or you can go on courses as well to fill that gap. So always think about charity work as an investment in yourself and not just in the charity. Now, you mentioned
absolutely.
something that was very much what I would consider uh, the gift, having gifts, like people have particular gifts or passions, was what you said. That's right. You use the word passion and gift together. So within the faith community, we think about someone having gifts and abilities and passions. But what seems to happen is when people come to a faith community, they leave their brain behind and suddenly
Mm.
they don't think of themselves as any. But your gift that you exercise in, some of you are exercising the ministry of ushering, which is really customer services, or you are supporting in the administration of, doing the secretarial roles. Well, that's administration. Some of
Yeah,
you are dealing with evangelism. That could be term sales.
yeah,
So you
that's true.
just need to know that whatever your passion is, it can either become, if you're very good at it now, it can become your job, or it
Hmm.
can become your business. Your
Yes,
business. Now, I always knew that you had a mindset for taking things apart. You had an analytical mind, and you had the ability, I felt, to do business back in the day. So I'm not surprised, Sister Hazel, that you ended up running your own businesses. So um, people out there thinking maybe one business, but maybe there are others who would like to just have some encouragement that they can do more than one. They can
yeah,
have streams of income. Could you speak to that for a moment?
yeah. So in having multiple income streams, you could have like your core business, which is your, say for example, nine to five, or whichever way. You could have it 70%, and you could have another business perhaps that you do 30% of the time. So you have two, or you can have 70, um, 20, 10. So I'll give you an example. You could have a property business, and then on the side, you could have an you can have a property business that automates. So a lot of businesses at the moment are taking advantage of technology. So a lot of things they don't need a physical person to be there. So you can have systems in place that automate a lot of things. Also, a lot of people are using virtual assistants at the moment, so you don't
Mhm.
necessarily need to be sat at your desk. You can hire minutes in a business, so somebody picks up your calls. You don't have to hire full time. So as a small business, you haven't got the capacity or the funds to be able to hire full time staff, but you can say, for example, every Monday from 10 to 3, I'm going to be concentrating on my Amazon business. During that 10 to 3, your other business, you could usher the calls to a virtual assistant and maybe a bit of the work for them to pick up. But you're not employing somebody full time, it's just for those hours. And then
Mhm.
during the other time, you're concentrating on building up. So, say for example, you've got an Amazon one, you can leverage that as well and have obviously if you're doing fulfillment by Amazon, Amazon obviously do the work for you. So you can find people that can source products for you, get you started. You sign up into their accounts, you just manage it, look at the sales maybe an hour a day, and then everything else is just working behind the scenes. Then you can have, let's say, for example, another business in maybe it's investments that you're doing. again, with investments, you can put money in certain stocks or maybe shares or whatever it is that you're investing in. And obviously you don't need to be working at it. So in terms of investment, I want to give you a simple example. When you buy shares, you could buy, let's say you buy shares in Apple. You buy, let's say, just one share for maybe £1,000. In 3-6 months, maybe it's 1,200. But all you've just done is obviously to sign up and pay, or if it's being managed by a financial advisor, they could be managing it for you, but you're not working on it every day. So there is that that ability for you to run more than one business. But what I would not advise is to start all of them at the same time. Usually when you do your first one, run with it for at least 2 years to master it. Once you've mastered it, you can start another.
Good advice.
Yeah. Another thing that you can do as well that I've seen people do in property, instead of trying a new business, you can start a business where you're in property, and then maybe you can decide to start a training business on the side in the same area. So all that information that you have learned, that you are practicing every day, you can decide, I'm going to share this information with people that are getting into this industry who struggle just like I did when I struggled, so they don't struggle. And then you can monetize that, because that's your time that you're spending to teach them or train them. So you can keep within the same industry and see other businesses and start a side thing. I know other people in my industry who've started, for example, a cleaning business on the side. They struggle to get cleaners for apartments and linen and laundry, and then they decided to start a cleaning company on the side to make a second business, and it's still within the same sort of industry. So you're not having to learn lots of new skills or start all over again. It's just sort of a branch.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that another principle, which is your mama would have told you, or your uncle, or somebody must have taught you, never put all your eggs in one
basket.
basket or one calabash. You never put them all in one.
Yeah.
Because you're going to end up with nothing. And that's where diversification, the principle of diversification, comes in. No matter what you're doing, whether it's business or a job, you need to make sure you have varied assortment of skills and not just one thing that you focus on. Because if you do, when that one thing goes cold, you're in trouble.
That's the end of it.
Yes. But you mentioned the 70-20-10 principle, which I know is a principle about, from your income when it comes in, you live off 70%, you save 20%, and you tithe 10%. Would you speak about that principle for us for a moment, please, since you mentioned it?
Okay, so on in personal expenses, you can, I mean, there's different principles, to be honest, but the one I'm quite knowledgeable about is the 70-10-10. So when your income comes in, 70% should be allocated to expenses, 10% to tithe and giving, 10% to an emergency fund, 10% to savings.
Okay.
With the savings, that's where you need to be clever about not just putting it away in the bank. You have to look for investments that give you a higher rate of return. So that's another principle, and the same principles can be used, I guess, with when you're running a business as well. That in your business, when you get your money come in, you apportion it, some of it to expenses, you apportion some of it to the taxman because it doesn't obviously belong to you. Some of it has to go into an investment pot, so you can decide whether to invest back into that business, or you can invest it in sort of a separate.
What about the people that say, I don't have much to invest? How would you answer them?
I would say it maybe it's just your priorities are not to invest, but if you really want to start investing, if you start going back again to budgeting principles, um, you can cut down on a lot of things. It might not happen overnight, but if you know that you're working towards it, give it a few months, you will be able to start investing, because you can start to invest from as little as even £20. But it's the compounding effect that £20 in a couple of years is not going to be just £20. It would have increased in value.
Okay.
So it's just
So,
setting your priorities right. So if you go back, if you really, really want to start to be an investor, if you go back to your budget, there'll be lots of things that you can cut down on that you probably don't need in your budget. And also, if you start to live within your means, you can start to it. Like I said, it probably won't happen overnight, but with time, if you really set it as a goal, it's achievable.
okay. Thank you very much for that. Please, before we're going to start winding down, but before we do, I want you to drive home why it's important for people to come out of debt. Why is it not appropriate to live a life that some would like us to live, which is live on the debt line?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it
So
important for your family to come out of debt?
yeah, it's important because we are stewards of this money. So we have to remember that God is the source of everything. So God has given us, He's given us in abundance. So one, we need to be stewards of God's money. The second thing why people should come out of obviously debt is because it enables them to reach for their goals. It's hard for you to achieve what you want if you're trying to clear out credit cards and loans, and really it's about the interest rates that you're paying. So you're paying that money, it's enriching somebody else. Why not make that money enrich you? If you use compounding calculators, you will see that when you've got debt of any kind, you lose a lot of money on interest rates, but that's your money.
So is that
That
something we should also be looking at? Should we also be looking at the interest rates that we pay for any debt that's currently in
Yeah,
our life?
yeah. So
All
it's
right.
so
How do we
yeah.
actually
So
compare them then?
there's lots of calculators online that people can actually use where they can put their what their debt is, what sort of interest rate they are paying, and it will actually show them over the course of that loan or how much they would have paid in interest rate. So that's basically how much money they would have lost
Please
because they
continue.
are
Why
paying
is it
for.
important to come out of debt?
It's important because that means that that money could be working for you. So that interest rate that you're losing, you could actually be investing it and doing other things. And also, the more money you have, the more likely that you are to give. So when you
I
don't
wish
have
that
any.
was true. Some people, the more money they have, the tighter they become. And the less money they have, the better they give. Oh,
That's
wow.
because that's because their mindset has not been changed. But once you understand money from a biblical point of view, it's about generosity. It can't always be it's in and it's out. And the more you are generous and you give, the more you will get also. Like the example that you were explaining about Bill Gates. Even the Bible says that God gives to those he knows that will give.
Well, it states the principle is that he who serves the most will become the greatest. That's the principle.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. And serving, giving is serving, isn't it? It's generosity
absolutely.
is the spirit of service, servanthood. So
And
yes,
again, cast your bread upon the waters, and after many days it shall return unto you. So if you've been
yeah,
casting every day, there comes a season when it just comes back on every wave.
yeah, yeah. And also in that obviously causes issues with the relationships as well in families. Um
Women especially. Women can't take it when you're in debt. They,
Yeah.
men can tough it out because they're in debt, but women, no, no,
Mm,
no. The man is
yeah.
interested in sex more than anything else, and the woman
Mhm.
seems to be interested in making sure that the house is stable, the
Yeah.
money is stable more than
Yes.
anything else. I'm not saying
Yeah.
she's not interested in sex. I'm just saying, by the way,
Yeah.
maybe this Shabbat I'll be dealing with sex, but
Yeah.
money and sex are big problems in relationship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And money problems can make or break relationships. So it's important, obviously, that we look after that side of things. And also lack of money just causes a lot of stress. I mean, being indebted causes a lot of stress. So it affects hugely on your mental well-being
Yeah, and the Bible also
because
says it makes you a slave. If you owe anybody, you become a slave to them. So could that be a
absolutely.
factor why
Yeah.
people like to keep certain folks
Yeah,
bound in debt? Like,
yeah. I was actually having that
whoa,
conversation this evening about that you become a slave to money because we were looking even at interest rates that money when you owe all that money is going to somebody else. You become their slave, trying to pay all that. You take a loan of 10,000. By the time you finish it, you've paid 30, 40,000, but you only took 10,000. So you become a slave and you're working hard and hard and hard.
wow,
You're not even seeing your kids because you're on a shift day and night.
wow.
Um, yeah, making somebody else rich. So
Many people
yes,
don't think about that, they don't think about that. We haven't
no,
mentioned a principle called snowballing. Snowballing is a practical way of coming out of debt. And you need to go and look it up on YouTube or somewhere, find out what snowballing is, and educate yourself as to how to come out of debt. I have a book here,
yeah.
but
It's
before I
also
even go there, sorry, go ahead, please.
I was going to say I think other people might know it as the compounding.
Compounding is the interest side, but coming
Oh
out
yeah,
of
yeah.
it is called snowballing. But tell me,
Okay.
what have you done differently that's made sure that your life is maximized? What do you think you've done differently?
Definitely planning. Planning is a huge one, because it gives you an overview and just craving it and saying, I'm gonna write it down so I can see the reality of it. Because sometimes life is just we're in automation, aren't we? The bills are in automation, everything is in automation, so there's no time to stop and think. And I think for many people, um this time with COVID has been a good time for people to sit home and sort of relax. So as we are coming out of it before everything gets busy, just find time and write things down, have it in front of you so that you see
The real
the
picture.
um the real picture. And with the real picture, you're able to make decisions. You're able to plan. So planning definitely, and planning is not it's not a one-off thing. It becomes a lifestyle. It's only harder at the beginning because you have to pull everything together. But once you've set the original plan, you start to just add on and build on to that first one. Even with your budget, you start to build on. But there's lots of calculators out there, lots of budgeting tools out there, and then also consistency.
All right. Well, there are people
So
out there who will, sorry, finish what you're saying first.
I was saying that make a plan to be consistent. So to review things on a regular basis, if it's on a monthly, if it's on a quarterly basis, that way you don't lose oversight. You're constantly looking at your plan and thinking, this is where I was, this is where I'm going. It also motivates you as well. So when, for example, if you've got huge loans that you're looking at, once you clear that 200, you've added 200, you see it go down and you're thinking, I've got to work that harder, harder. It's so motivating to see it you know dwindle.
See
But
your debt
but you need to
dwindle.
be consistent. Yeah, you need to be consistent and always checking. I had this guy on a business platform asked what he does every morning. And he said, every morning when I wake up, I look at my bank account, and everybody laughed. And he was sort of like, yeah, you have to keep an eye on it every single day, because it gives you, it gives them that ability to be able to plan. And then when he sees where his wins are, it motivates him to, to work harder for those wins. And when he sees the losses, it makes him think, okay, what can I do better? What changes can I make? And then that builds into his daily plan and into his weekly plan. So
Yep. I think a lot of people, because they have day jobs, don't realize that the day job is a ceiling. There's no ceiling when you have your own business. There's no ceiling when you have a side hustle. But when you have a day job, there's a ceiling called a salary. And you bump against your salary, but employers are not likely to increase your salary just like that. You're going to have to do something special to get your salary increase. But all that special value could have been invested in yourself, in your business. So that's how I view that particular thing. But I understand looking at your account. All right. Well, there are people out there who have listened to your story and who have been watching tonight, and maybe you would like to give them some advice, some special advice, or make some special recommendations. This is the time when you can do that. Please do. If you have any special advice or special recommendation about reversing debt, coming out of debt, or getting rid of your debt and then going on to have an independent lifestyle, what would you say?
yeah. So I would say don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for certain things to happen. If you really wanted to really get out of that debt, to become financially independent, it needs to start today, now. So don't delay. Get started. There is loads of support out there. If you need pointers or anything, maybe Dr. Trev, you could share my number or email. If anybody needs pointers of where to go, what to do, they can always send an email. But don't delay. Start now. There is hope. It might not take it might not be overnight, but certainly it's achievable. Loads of people have done it. I know certainly in business, a lot of people started with nothing. And 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, they're not where they used to be. It just takes determination, consistency, change of mindset, and you just
and a plan.
Yep, and a plan, and definitely a plan. Definitely. But yeah, there's loads of things that people are doing out there to get out of debt, to become financially independent. And also people need to think around. Sometimes it's daunting to even start to think of it, because it's scary to just think of what will happen with all this debt. But yeah, do not fear. It's only the devil that can make you fear. There is so much abundance out there that God has given us all these blessings. He's the source of all these things. So we've got to go and get them for him, for other people, for ourselves.
Right. So don't delay, start today. That's the main message of today.
Today.
Don't delay, start today. You know, there's only 4 things you can do with money. You can give it, you can spend it, you can save it, or you can invest it. But the truth is, you should make everything an investment. When you give, make it an investment. When you spend, make it an investment. When you save, think investment and think multiplication. And when you do that, your money will begin to move, and it will move you from where you are to where you need to be. By the way, if you haven't yet posted your questions, make sure you're posting them now, because we are going to be dealing with your questions in just a moment. So I would like to thank you, Sister Hazel, for your time. I've certainly enjoyed talking to you. But is there anything else you want to share with the people who are watching?
I mean, apart from getting started, I guess self-development, something that I would recommend actually is, have you heard of Zig Ziglar?
I've heard of him, salesman he was.
Was a Well, he's got what he calls the
Is he
wheel of
still
life.
alive?
So,
He's still
yes,
alive, is he? Oh,
he is
wow.
still alive. He is
Wow.
still alive. Um, he's got several books actually that help people to in terms of mindset to be successful is not only obviously about finances, but you're more successful in finances if all the other areas of your life are good. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when you become debt-free, financially independent, you need to be in good health to enjoy that money. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yes, very
So you
important.
need to look at, yeah, all these areas when they come together. You need to look at your relationships as well with family, if it's family, with your spouses, with your children, with your friends. Um, you need to be self-developing. We've talked a lot about self-development,
Mm-hmm.
growing to become a better version of yourself and growing to become the person that God has called you to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Working, just understanding who you are. Again, when you're thinking of the skills and how passionate you are, do personality tests, for example. They're an easier way to see, because some people have difficulty in understanding themselves and knowing who they are and how they can best serve others. So personality tests help in terms of navigating you to who you are and living your purposes. And again, these things help in career, they help in business. And like I said, once you're successful in career and business and money, um I mean, everything just joins together. I think, yeah, they I can't remember what the other things that he talks about. Um, but yeah, when you've got all the money that you have, you need to be in good health, so you need to look after yourself.
That's right. It's not about money, it's about what you can do with it. And if you are unhealthy, there's not an awful lot you can do. You'd give it
Yeah.
all away just to get your health back. So make sure you take care of yourself. Very,
Yes, you
very
need
good
to take
advice.
care of yourself. Yeah. And when you've got your money as well, you need to protect those assets that you've worked hard for. So,
Yeah, people are always protecting. The more money you get, the more money you spend on protecting what you got.
yeah.
I think
But
it's ridiculous. Oh dear.
yeah,
So that's why
definitely people will
Solomon
need
says,
to.
is it Solomon or is it David? Well, somebody in the Bible says, make me not so rich that I
Yeah.
get silly. I'm paraphrasing, but make
Yeah,
me
but not
just right.
not
So I'm not too rich and I'm not too poor. That way I won't despise you.
you want still, I know.
I want to have
Yes.
enough to be independent, is what you're saying, but not enough for me to get all pumped up so that I go silly. Some people, they get money and money turns them silly. They
Yeah.
behave silly. So, um, if people out there want to connect with you, how can they find you on social media?
Um, they
How can they connect
can,
with you?
or they can um call me or send me an
How about an
email.
email? How about an
Yeah.
email? I think calling you may get more calls than you
Then
anticipate. So
yeah,
let's limit it to email, shall we? So if
yeah.
they want to email you, how can they connect with you?
My email is I'll have
Drop
to
it in
spell
the
it out.
private chat. Drop it in the private
Yeah,
chat. If you and I will make sure that I pass that on into the chat so that my moderators will be able to highlight it. Okay, so there, while you're doing that, I can talk a little. So we've got this thing going on to do with breaking debt, and you should have had by now the opportunity to post any questions that you may have. So are you, for instance, on whoops, Sister Hazel, are you on you, not YouTube, but you, well,
on Instagram, and
and
I'm
all
on
that
there
kind of stuff? Are you on that?
on my business. So I'm on LinkedIn.
You're on LinkedIn. Fantastic. So just give that verbally, your LinkedIn contact, if they
Yeah.
want to do that. Or if you're on Facebook and you want to share that, there's her email. So
Leave the email there.
let me just have a look for any questions. Any questions? Where the question here is, where do we start to look to invest in shares? Where do you start first of all? What's the first step to looking into investing in shares? I think is a summary of that question.
Okay. So just a disclaimer that I'm not a financial advisor. So the best thing to do when looking maybe at shares is either find a financial advisor, or if you go to Vanguard, if you're in the UK, they've got really good resources of how you can set up an account and do it yourself. But for those maybe with large sums who want the protection, you can find a financial advisor that can help you with with understanding that. But
Okay.
also before you go to a financial advisor, I would say go on Vanguard, so you just have a basic understanding of what they are, how they operate, and what to look for in terms of protection. Because not you need to look at ones that are regulated, companies that are FCA regulated to protect your assets.
My practical advice for investment is to think small at first and toe dip before you go and throw large sums of money at anything. So never throw large sums of money in anything. Do what your mother taught you, which is never put your eggs in one basket.
Basket. Yeah.
Follow that principle and think multiplication, and you can't go too far wrong. For those of us inside our ministry, if you want to talk to me about that, I have some ideas that I might be able to give to you. Hallelujah. Apart from that, I don't see any other questions coming through. So I want to say once again, could you, in summary, is there any final thing that you'd like to say? Oh, Vanguard Asset
Any
Management.
final thing?
Anything final thing you'd like to say as your wrap up before I take over and do the final closeout? Final
Just
word.
to thank the audience. Final word, yeah. Thank you for watching. Make sure you share this with everybody that you know that is in need of financial education, who wants to become debt free, wants to become financially independent, and who wants to make a difference in the world. Because only when you're at that stage of financial independence are you able to change so many lives. And like I said before, start now, don't wait. Start now and get in touch. Definitely get in touch for more details and for any support.
Amen. Fantastic. Well, we've put this on today because I know that a lot of our people are in debt and need to come out. One of the things that I did when I got made redundant back in 2010 was that and I was earning a good salary. Instead of buying anything, I put all my money into making sure I got rid of every shred of debt that it was possible for me to get rid of. And then I rescheduled my life to live at a lower pace.
Yeah.
Some people, you got yourself a small job and you live in the big life. Come on now. The other bit of old advice from your grandmother is cut your cloth to suit your size. Don't be trying to live the big life on a small salary or small income. What you have to
Yeah.
do is reschedule your life. So
Yeah.
if you have
Live with
money, get
things.
rid of debt. That means you don't have interest to pay, and then you can start living the real life. The real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So, in summary of today, in getting rid of your debt, you get rid of your debt in two ways. You either increase your income and your
Yeah.
payments towards your debt, or else you decrease your payments towards your lifestyle and increase your payments towards your debt. The little, little, get rid of it, works. But if you have the cash lump sum, put it all into getting rid of your debt, or
Yeah.
put half of it into getting rid of your debt and half of it into investment in something that will gain traction and build money for you. Because your heavenly Father does not want you living the low life. He doesn't
Yeah.
want you
Yeah.
living necessarily the high life, but he wants you to live a good life. A good life.
Absolutely.
So make sure that you have a good life by getting rid of the slavery mentality and the slavery debt that keeps you in control.
Yeah.
Then you are in a position to live your life and to serve freely because you give, because you can, and give because you want to, not because someone forces you to. And while we're here, I need to talk to some of you believers out there who are being strong-armed by your ministers to give. Bible says the way you purpose to give is the way you should give. Don't let people force you and give up your mortgage, give up your bill money, give up your this and be irresponsible. You have a responsibility first to him and next to your family and yourself. So don't be giving ministers big cars to drive in and big houses to live in while you get kicked out of yours. Be a good steward. Remember, a steward is one who takes care of somebody else's business, and that's how you get your own. Bible says, "He that laboreth, laboreth for himself." So whatever good you do, you're doing it for you. When you take care of work, be a good worker, be a good manager, because you're doing it for yourself. Because when you start your own, what you sow is what you grow.
Hmm.
Hallelujah. So make sure you do a good job at work and then do a good job with your own business. And if you are never going to start a business, just make sure you're the best worker or manager that you can be and keep climbing. Keep
Yeah.
climbing. Hallelujah. So it's
Keep serving.
beyond the debt is a
Mhm.
life of abundance. And when you live a life of abundance, as our sister said, you are able then to give to others, invest in others, support others, raise up the next generation behind you. This has been dealing with debt, but it's also dealing with life.
Yeah.
Bad things happen in life, and sometimes we have debts because we don't plan for them. What do I mean? Well, our sister spoke of having an emergency fund. We call it a rainy day fund. So, what's
Hmm.
a rainy day fund? You see, you walk around with an umbrella, not because you know it's going to rain, but just in case it does. And when it rains, you just go "Proop," and pop up your umbrella. I'm amazed at people who live in the country that I live in and go out in their shirt and tie and their jackets and never have a raincoat, never have a warm coat, thinking that it's always going to be like that. In this country, the weather changes in less than an hour flat. You can experience all four seasons. It'll rain, it'll blow. You can have snow and ice, and things will fall around about you. You can have a flood in no time. Why? Because life is uncertain. Therefore, you must plan in uncertainty and say, if uncertainty comes around, I have a rainy day fund set aside. You say, well, I don't have much. Well, that means you don't have to put away much. Just put
Hmm.
away a little and put it away regularly, and it will compound. Compound. We have been here today serving you, and we encourage you to serve us. If you would like to give, the details are there for PayPal, for WhatsApp, or for our website. Our website is www.pillar.org.uk. Pillar.org.uk. If you have any questions, you can always write to HebrewApostolic@gmail.com, or in this case, HebrewInterviews@gmail.com, and we will answer you. Hallelujah. Now, finally, I want to let you know that we will be back on Wednesday. Wednesday at 7:30 GMT +1 will be our Bible study, where we are starting Deuteronomy briefing. We're going to start the Deuteronomy briefing. Thursday, 3 a.m. GMT +1 will be our language class dealing with Paleo Hebrew. Paleo Hebrew. They're absolutely free because we want to serve our community. We pray that Yah has baraked you, blessed you in this time. And we ask him also to bless Barak, our Sister Hazel, who has poured out abundantly from her heart, her personal experience today. May you also continue to be baraked and blessed. And we'll see you next time, Yahweh willing. Shalom.